Sup fellas, I'm back, and today we're here to address some more allegations. Can I maim them alive? Will Yamcha matter in the next Dragon Ball episode? Let's find out. Let's go after this first allegation about Guardian stats.
Well, you see in our rates, the Guardian can't get light speed or measurable speed because Twilight Gap happened. And in Twilight Gap, Guardians died to Drex. And also, Amanda Holiday shot Crow.
Ignoring the 20 or 30 different arguments I could use to destroy this, I'll give 3 or 4 of them to explain why I don't like this at all. Starting with the Demiurge is something that's universal inverse. The Demiurge gives every race, on some way, shape, or form, an ability to interact with the other races/factions. This means when humanity has the weapon, they have the weapon. That means they can destroy other members of humanity or other races with their weaponry. Secondly is the chaperone argument. In case you don't know, Amanda Holiday has an exotic class shotgun named the Chaperone. Exotic weaponry are weaponry that you take and then you infuse with exotic matter, and generally the weapon has an exotic type function. Amanda Holiday used a slug shotgun, which is one of the most dangerous weapons known in Destiny history, and it is ridiculous in terms of how strong it is. Anyone would have died in Crow's position. Thirdly, I do not scale Crow to the Guardian. It's been obvious ever since Uldren was turned into the Guardian, he's never once scaled to the Guardian. He's always scaled below them. Crow is someone who scales more around Zavala, Saladin, Shaxx, that group of people. I don't think he's going to take Saint 14 in a fight unless he has the ability to surprise him with long-range weaponry, and I don't think he's taking Ikora Rey in a fight either, and all those characters would get crapped on by the main character, period. And fourthly is the way I scale Guardians. You know the whole power creep in Destiny makes it easier meme? Well, it's the same case for Guardian scaling. The long and short of it is, the battle at Twilight Gap happening and Guardians being killed by lower forms of enemies is just as true as the Guardian going up against Savathun and beating her in a fight, even if it was not exactly conventional. The reason for this is simple. The Guardians slowly started getting stronger over time, from expansion to expansion, from season to season to another expansion and onwards. When you have Trials of Osiris, Trials of the Nine, and Trials of Osiris coming back again, well, what do you get? Within the Crucible meta of Guardians, they're constantly scrapping up against each other all the time, and they're constantly having to hold back so they don't destroy everything. It's only in stuff like Mayhem and Trials of Osiris when Guardians truly don't hold back. We don't know if they hold back in Iron Banner, but we'll throw that one on the side in the gray pile. The point is, the Guardian eventually became so powerful that they struggled against an avatar of Oryx that was garbage, to eventually being able to scare Savathun on the spot without even having to fight her. The Guardians are naturally on a very wide spectrum of who scales where and who scales high, because the separate metas are separated by the seasons and the DLC. This Guardian is about as powerful as the main character was by Season of Plunder, or this other one was about as powerful as the Guardian was by Beyond Light. The expansion status and how they roll out is the way you want to look at Guardian metas and how they scale season to season to DLC to season again. That's the best way I would put it without overcomplicating the Guardian scaling meta. When I talk about stasis, the main argument I use for it is, if you define stasis as either time stop or ceiling hacks, you'd be right in both regards. Well, Bungie released some new lore, which we can now see on the screen, which tells us how stasis works from a master of stasis named Elsie Bray, who by the way is one of the top 5 most potent masters of stasis. And Osiris isn't, so she has a very interesting take on stasis, which reveals one of its many powers.
You lived in my house!
But in the leaks, Guardians can't be infinite speed because they would have the instant mass punch like Flash from DC.
You probably realize why this is a very bad argument, but in case you don't know, let's say you're a Dragon Ball fan and you scale Goku, and you say, they clapped Umar. Wait, that's a Marvel character, right? And Hulk did that. So why would you play at the Goku? That doesn't make sense. Well, because I can and I want to, and it worked this way, so therefore it worked that way. It's ridiculous. Needless to say. All 4 major Hive Gods should scale to the very highest extent possible you can scale characters from the Ascendant Plane to. Of course, this is ignoring the Witness, since all 4 Hive Gods are at the top of the plane. This being said, I'm not sure why people would outright deny Axiom stuff when Axiom stuff is stated verbatim within the Taken King. The next 2 topics are Rolk and Nezarec. Now, for the life of me, I understand that Rolk is a well-written character. He's more well-written than Nezarec. With Nezarec, he practically has no writing. But, for the love of God, stop putting Rolk above Oryx nowadays. Because he dies to Oryx and he dies to Nezarec. There should be no debate. At one time, Rolk versus Oryx was a debate, but now that is no longer the case. What most people don't know is there's a book series called Marasana. And Marasana, you want to go to Excitate. I already butchered the name, it's too late. So, in this part of the book, Marasav is using someone else, and that power is the same as Mara's in this case, so it's the same potency. Keep that in mind. And they are creating a dreaming city from literal stories. I am serious. If you go through the Excitate part, I probably butchered it, and you read through it, you can find a lot of pretty good evidence for narrative stuff. Building off my previous argument, because I got a comment on Reddit saying that I didn't show anything on the screen when all the time I always show DPS clips intentionally. Well, this is for that. We killed Riven, and this was a Riven who created the entire Dreaming City from memories as a lair for her to crawl around and live in. So, very clearly, anyone who scales to Riven at the time that she died, they would have narrative potency because they would require that same potency in order to hurt her. If they didn't have narrative potency, she would have one-shot the entire fire team, and that was it. Which, by the way, you can't use the deal between Riven and Savathun, because that doesn't actually change the fact that you had to hurt and kill a Riven in order for the wish to be triggered. So, make of it what you will, but Destiny is pretty busted, and this should reflect that. And that's the video. Honestly, there wasn't that much to respond to because it was a bunch of idiocy from Reddit. But if you want more stuff like this, then can we please repeat the same reception from the previous video? That'd be awesome. Anyway, you know the usual. Like, share, and subscribe if you'd like more stuff like this. And that's all. Bye-bye. And remember, Kong Soul.